Hello Bio. We're continuing on with Chapter 4. We're in our last section. Today we're going to take a look at aquatic ecosystems. So these are going to be ecosystems that are found in water. So majority of our planet is actually covered in water, and so we don't really have a biome to describe the water region, so we're going to have to take a look at those on their own as well. And so again, just like I said, nearly 3/4 of our Earth's surface is covered in water, and almost all bodies of the water contain a wide variety of communities that are governed by biotic and abiotic factors that include light, nutrient availability, and oxygen. So water is not just for us to drink, it contains a great variety of life and different biotic and abiotic factors as well. So they do deserve their fair amount of attention. And so we're going to look at what are the main factors that govern aquatic ecosystems. So they're determined primarily by the depth, flow, temperature, and chemistry of the overlaying water. So how deep the water is, how fast it's moving, what its temperature is, and the different nutrients or even possibly some toxic substances that are found in each part. And aquatic ecosystems are often grouped according to their abiotic factors that affect them, so they're usually grouped by the non-living parts, and the depth of water determines the amount of light that organisms receive. So the deeper portions of water are obviously not going to receive a lot of light because sunlight cannot just travel straight through it. It won't reach to deep parts of aquatic ecosystems. And water chemistry will refer to the amount of dissolved chemicals on which life depends, so things like those nutrients. And communities of organisms that are found in shallow water close to the shore can be and probably will be very different from the communities that occur away from shore in very deep water. And latitude is also an important abiotic factor to both land biomes and aquatic ecosystems alike. And so we're going to look at there's two types of freshwater ecosystems. They're going to have differences in all those different abiotic factors that we just mentioned. So our freshwater ecosystems are divided into two types. They have flowing water ecosystems and standing water ecosystems. And so the first one we're going to look at is the flowing water. So rivers, streams, creeks, and brooks are freshwater ecosystems that flow over land. So that means the water is constantly moving. And organisms that live in these ecosystems are well adapted to the rate of flow. So they're just adapted to how fast the water is going to be flowing, how fast the water is going to be moving, or how slow the water is going to be moving. And so all these ecosystems originate or start out in the mountains or hills. And then there's turbulent water near the source has little plant life. So at the source there's really going to be fast moving water, and there's not going to be a lot of plant life there because it's going to be too fast and will just wash anything away. But as the water flows downhill, sediments will build up and they will enable plants to grow. So sediments is almost just kind of like the dirt of maybe a river or stream or something like that, kind of all the fine material that's kind of nutrient rich found at the bottom of different various flowing ecosystems, and that will enable plants to grow. And then downstream the water may meander slowly where turtles, beavers, and river otters live. So meander is just kind of like a winding going in different crooked directions, and when it moves slowly there's animals like turtles, beavers, and river otters living there. And so for our standing water ecosystem, so these are going to be things like lakes and ponds are going to be considered to be standing water ecosystems. And in addition to the net flow of water in and out of these systems, there's usually water circulating within them. So even though they are standing water, there is water that's kind of flowing in and there is water that's flowing out, and the water is actually circulating or just moving within inside. And this circulation will help to distribute heat, help distribute oxygen, and as well as nutrients throughout the ecosystem. So even though it's called the standing water ecosystem, the water is in fact moving around and it's passing heat, oxygen, and nutrients throughout the system. And still water provide habitats for organisms such as plankton. And plankton is just a general term that we use for free-floating organisms that live in both freshwater and saltwater environments. So I think there was a question asked in class, what's the difference between plankton and zooplankton is? So we're going to find out what that is here in a second. So unicellular algae are known as phytoplankton, and they're supported by nutrients in the water, and they form the base of many aquatic food webs. So phytoplankton are unicellular algae, which you remember are very similar to plants, and they're phyto because they're kind of are photosynthesizing. And then we have zooplankton, which are unicellular animals that feed on phytoplankton. So zooplankton are small animals that feed on our small unicellular algae. So that's the difference between just a regular. So plankton is more of a general term, whereas zooplankton refers to the fact that they're animals. Phytoplankton refers that they are algae. And then our freshwater wetland, this is again kind of another different ecosystem that is classified kind of almost in the still water, a little bit different. So this is a freshwater, this is an ecosystem which water covers the soil or is present at or near the surface of the soil at least part of the year. And the water in the wetlands may be flowing or standing and may be fresh, salty, or brackish. And brackish just means kind of a mix between fresh and salt water. And many wetlands are productive ecosystems that serve as breeding grounds for many types of wildlife. So wetlands actually do serve a very good purpose, one of those being as breeding grounds. And there's three main types of wetlands. They are bogs, marshes, and swamps. So bogs are going to be considered wetlands that typically form in depression where water collects. So it's just almost like a low area where water kind of tends to flow and where water will collect. And marshes are going to be shallow areas that are going to fall along rivers. And in swamps, they almost just look like a flooded forest, which water flows slowly. So that's it for our first part of freshwater ecosystems. Let me know if you have any questions.